at 4:01 p.m. I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon, and I just want to let everybody know that this meeting will be broadcast on CTN cable channel 16 and ATT channel 99, and online at a2gov.org/watchctn. And of course, if there are anyone today that would like to speak for public comment, please feel free to call the number toll-free 877-853-5247 or 888-788-0099 and enter the meeting ID 919-8673-145. Thank you. All right. With that, I would like to start with roll call today. So I'd like to go around and do roll call. So if we could start with Commissioner Mozak, and then Kennedy, if you want to just call on individuals so that they can unmute and introduce themselves and let us know where they're coming from today, that would be great.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Commissioner Kathleen Mozak, and I'm calling in from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Perfect. Good to see you, Kathleen. Alrighty. Next, we have Commissioner Solomon.
Matthew Solomon, Commissioner, calling in from Ann Arbor, Michigan, USA.
Good to see you, Commissioner Solomon. Next, we have Commissioner Hawkins. Okay. Next, we have Commissioner Poster. Okay. Next, we have Commissioner Gossage. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Alex.
Nope, that's good. No worries. This is Commissioner Alex Gossage calling in from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay. Next, we have Councilmember Ghazi Edwin.
Hi, everyone. This is Councilmember Aisha Ghazi Edwin calling in from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Wonderful. And then next we have Commissioner Radcliffe.
Hey everyone, it's Rosanita Ratcliffe calling in from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Perfect. Nice to see you. Next we have Vice Chair Keeler.
This is Vice Chair Keeler. Vice Chairman Larry Keeler calling from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Good to see you, Vice Chair. And we have Chair Zach Damon.
Thank you. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. This is Zach Damon, Chairman, calling in from Ann Arbor, Michigan, Washtenaw County. Thank you very much, everyone, for that roll call. Next, I'd like to just open it up for a brief 3-minute public comment. Do we know, Kennedy, do we have anybody on at the moment for public comment?
I'm going to stop sharing my screen just to double check. At this time, it looks like we do not.
All right, thank you. Next, I would like to go to the approval of today's agenda. All of you should have received a digital copy of today's agenda with all of the information included. If you have not, please let us know and we can get you a copy now. But if there are no more comments on the agenda, I would like to make a motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll move to approve.
All right, Larry moves to approve. Is there a second?
I will second. This is Kathleen.
Thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen seconds. All in favor of approving today's agenda, please unmute and say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right. The agenda is approved. Next, we have the approval of the meeting minutes, both from, actually just from June, pardon me. So I just wanted to give a moment if anyone had any comments or additions or edits to the meeting minutes from June. And if not, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June?
I'll move.
Okay. Rosanita,
Yep.
thank you. Okay. I'll second. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from the June 21st commission meeting? Please unmute and say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
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 Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. The meeting minutes are approved. Next, we come to the very awesome part of our agenda here. So I'm very excited to announce to the full commission that we have a couple of candidates today that would like to make their introduction. I want to let the full commission know that their applications were received and they have been reviewed, and then they were interviewed by Larry, our recruitment specialist, to ensure that they qualified and met the commitment aspects of our commission. So with that, I would like to introduce the two candidates, and I will have them go. I will have Ms. Chambers go first for her introduction, and then we'll have the second candidate, Mr. Packard, go second. So with that, I would like to introduce commission candidate Elena Chambers.
Hello, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to the meeting today. My name is Elena Chambers. I am really excited to be here. I am a current student in the Masters of Social Work program at the University of Michigan. I've done a lot of disability advocacy, especially with, I have a podcast about disability issues. I've done some online social media type advocacy. I've spoken at some disability related conferences. And I am just really excited to for the chance to potentially be able to help in my community. I've lived in Ann Arbor my whole life, and I am very passionate about helping other people with disabilities like myself who live in the Ann Arbor area as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, candidate Chambers. Very excited to have you. Thank you. Next, I'd like to have the introduction of candidate, Mr. Rob Packard. Rob, I think you're still on mute, sir.
There we go.
Awesome.
Can you hear me? All right.
Sure
Well,
can.
thank you very much, Zach. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this group. Very much honored to be here today. I am a reporter, photographer, pediatric nurse who, in the midst of the pandemic here, working at U of M Hospital, lost most of my vision and became legally blind. And so I have experienced kind of both sides of life. And a scenario kind of want to go through to give you a perspective. Imagine if you're in your apartment like I am right now, and all the lights went out and everything went dark and your keys have vanished, your car's gone. And so it's like, what are you going to do with life? You could stay inside, stay in the dark, or you could go outside and, see what's out there. And that's kind of what I have done in the last few years. You go outside and you find what else, what opportunities await. And I, after losing my vision as a pediatric nurse at Mott, I took some time to, assess my situation. And then I went to the State Bureau of Services for Blind Persons and started relearning my skills. And then I wound up getting a place here in the city of Ann Arbor. And now I have an apartment here. I use the transportation system, and I still use the media here. I have connections in healthcare within the hospital system. And I would really like to use this as an opportunity to help others like you all have helped me. It was the fact that I ventured out of my house and met you, Zach, at the Low Vision Expo at the library. And there are so many ways that I think we can make the city a better place. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to do that, because I think we're all here because that's our attitude, is we see potential and opportunity and the best in others. And that's what we should surround ourselves with. And that's what I look forward to, doing with you in your organization. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Candidate Packard, and for all of your words. And yes, it was a pleasure meeting you at Visions this past year. And thank you very much for that introduction. We appreciate it. All right. And recruitment, Larry Keeler, I didn't know, did you just have any other things you wanted to say about these particular candidates, about the process of which you went about reviewing and interviewing, or anything? Larry, you're on mute if you are talking.
Nope, I'll address that during the report. We're good.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Zach, you're muted.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Next, I'd like to move on to the special presentation portion of our agenda. I'm very excited to introduce a wonderful, wonderful company that is doing great things, not only in our community, but also, I think, for the healthcare industry as a whole, in offering college students an opportunity to gain great experience in the healthcare field, but also get paid to do so at the same time. So with that, I would like to introduce Neil Sash and Carrie Aya.
Hey, thanks, Zach. I really appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, thanks for such a kind introduction. So yes, I'm Neil Shah, the CEO and co-founder of Carrie Aya Health Technologies, and actually took some time to prepare a presentation for you all, which I can walk through. Give me one sec to share the screen. Okay, can you guys see it?
I sure can.
Yes. Okay, great. So we actually founded, we are a grassroots organization that we built out of our home base in the Durham Research Triangle Park area of North Carolina at UNC Chapel Hill and Duke University. And now we're expanding to several universities around the country. And we just recently expanded to University of Michigan and are able to bring care services to the Ann Arbor metro area. So it's a social enterprise that is scaling very fast, and really innovations to tackle the caregiver shortages that we're seeing in society and advance care equity and access to affordable care for all. We actually wanted to pick a name that was like positive and uplifting. So we picked the name Yaya, which has multiple meanings, including grandmother in Greek. It means caregiver in Swahili and Thai. And really, we thought it would stand for "You Are Your Advocate," the future of self-directed care. To talk about kind of the need in the society overall, there's over 53 million Americans caring for somebody who needs help, either an aging parent, a spouse with disabilities or serious illness, or a child with special needs. I found myself actually in starting the organization, I found myself suddenly in two of those care situations in my mid-30s. Actually, including for my wife, who actually went to University of Michigan and families from Ann Arbor, and through serious illness and ICU hospitalizations, medical coma, et cetera, while I was, primary caregiver while I was full-time working. And that was right on the heels of taking care of my grandfather through several health challenges near the end of his life. And I basically realized there was a structural break in the care industry and people just needed a better solution. So we created a solution that lets people book great caregivers quickly online at half of the price of the traditional industry options to expand access to affordable care. And our mission is to empower families and caregivers, hopefully as it spreads around the country. To quickly kind of give a background, interdisciplinary team, Prior to this, I was actually running an investment fund focusing on healthcare and technology investments. My colleague Gavri came from the software development background. And then our chief medical advisor is Dr. Kasserad, who runs chief of palliative care at Duke Health. And then we have a growing team now of Roxy, Maggie, and Narana running communications, product design, and outreach. We're also backed by strategic advisors across health insurance plans, healthcare and technology executives, and public health leaders, including the retired CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, Bob Gretchen, Dr. Linda Rosenstock, who's the Dean Emeritus of the UCLA School of Public Health, and then Mark Jung, chairman of a large telehealth company, as well as several others, kind of across the healthcare ecosystem, who are funding our mission so we can kind of keep it free. And basically, this is the problem we're trying to solve at scale. When people need care help, they either face a choice of overpay through the current care industry or do it yourself. And I can go at length about why I think the current care industry is broken, but generally speaking, care is delivered through localized care agencies, which the business model is charged $30 an hour plus to families who need care help, require contracts and minimums, 20 hours a week minimum, typically we find in most areas, and then turn around and pay the caregivers $11 or $12 an hour. So a lot of the money goes to kind of administrative costs, overhead, profits, sales, and marketing. So you end up kind of with a poor user experience on both sides. The families pay a lot and it prices out 85 to 90% of families that need the help, or just even individuals that need help. We observe that from a lot of public health research. And then the caregivers don't get paid much. So as a result, a caregiver that can do literally anything else will take a job at any retail store, Walmart, McDonald's, et cetera. So even people who are very kind and want to be in the caring field just cannot handle the low wages, and many of them just need supplemental income. So you end up with as a result where you have a very mixed quality care experience, a lot of delays, no shows, and just kind of like a tough situation all around. Or I'd say the 90% of the people who can't interact with this industry waste a lot of time finding somebody themselves. People ask friends, neighbors, someone at church, other religious groups. You can go to care.com and manually send a bunch of messages, and you have to pay subscription fees. There's no quality control or scheduling help. So, given how many people need help, we thought, why couldn't we build something better? So here's what we built. We thought you can build a technology solution as convenient to use for somebody who needs care as Uber. At your fingertips, go online and book in less than 2 minutes, and you can get great caregivers. Best of all, they are all college students pursuing health careers. So we've observed that approximately 20% of the undergraduate population at most universities is interested in going into a healthcare career, whether it's pre-med, physician assistancy, nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy. These are wonderful students who want to basically spend the rest of their lives taking care of people. And there's no convenient way for them to participate in the care economy because the care agencies don't want them because they can't commit to 30, 40 hours a week of fixed shifts. So we thought they were fairly unengaged, and we figured out a way to engage them. They're vetted, reliable, and standardized. So when the person books care, we've done background checks, we've done interviews, we've verified enrollment with the university, and each session is ongoing rated. So it's like very quality control for people to use. It's as convenient to use as Uber, and the pay is all $15 to $18 an hour. Best of all, we charge nothing, no fees. People using it can pay the student directly. So it's maximum kind of affordable access. And number one bit of feedback we've gotten is people love college students as caregivers. It feels like family. That's basically what, the vast majority of people using it tell us. The caregivers help with everything from companionship, technology help, help around the house, grooming, meal preparation, pets. Critically, they don't help with medical care. We wanted to kind of make it as open as possible. So we don't require that they have a nurse aide or an EMT licensure, although several of them do. But they're just like nice people in the community that want to help out. Uniquely, we're finding they're able to solve interesting needs that people have, like weekend care help, overnight care help. These are readily available at no surcharges. Oftentimes, students really want to do this and they love these opportunities. And it's a big need for many families who are managing various care needs for a family member. And then basically so we launched the platform last year in our home base of UNC Chapel Hill and Duke, and we had initially 10 people, 20 people, 50 people on it. And then over the past 6 months, it started to rapidly spread to universities across the country. So University of Michigan is our first foray into the Michigan area, but already some people at Michigan State have started signing up. We're also at Vanderbilt, we're at Emory, we're at Ohio State, arch rivals, and also Pitt and UT Austin. So we're actually it's growing almost through word of mouth from students and professors. And most of the people who are referred to the platform come from biology professors, nursing professors, pre-health career advisors at the universities we collaborate with, because many of them realize the students don't have a convenient way to get care experience. And I think they really like the program because it's an education equity issue from the student's perspective that, we observe, and not to get into distraction on this topic, but I think it's actually just a fascinating point that students also need equitable access and encouragement to pursue clinical careers. And unless people are from a privileged background, many times they can't afford to just do volunteer hours at the hospital or wait until after graduation to get care experience. They need to get it during the school year and they need to make money doing it. So the program solves a big need for them. And then we've also built an entire pathway program where the caregivers that are doing a good job helping families, we help them with letters of recommendation. Proud to say I've personally written hundreds of letters of recommendation for people to go into graduate programs. We connect them with physicians, nurses, physician assistants, anyone they want for shadowing opportunities. So we really are trying to kind of like level the playing field for students who want to pursue healthcare careers, because not only is there caregiver shortage, there's also a healthcare worker shortage in the country that's intensifying by the day. So we think we can do something to help solve that. Can you guys hear the sound?
I cannot.
Okay, sorry. I think that's a Zoom setting. I'll send you the slides, but there's a couple of videos on there that are really worth watching that are just kind of like families and students talking about the care experiences. Which I think without the sound doesn't have the same effect. But so far the feedback from the families has been pretty solid. People are saving quite a bit of money using Care. People are saying it's the best caregivers they've ever seen in managing care for a family member. They love the convenience. So it's like basically these are kind of like the benefits that people are observing. And then as the program is growing, we're primarily being driven by, because we have no marketing or advertising budget. I really actually appreciate the opportunity to present to your group. It solely relies on word of mouth. So word of mouth on the student side and professor side, and then word of mouth on the people using the platform. So as we've grown, we're getting a lot of referrals from very large healthcare systems at different parts of the country, organizations like the ALS Association, Dementia Alliance, Alzheimer's Association, et cetera, as well as other organizations that we build relationships with. So I'll skip this too, but there's some really good videos in there. And then over time, as we're growing, we've started to get some coverage on the news. I actually think Detroit ABC News featured us, giving an example of a care experience in the Ann Arbor community by a University of Michigan student. It's really a shame you can't hear the audio because some of the audio is like really awesome. But yeah, basically the one observation is that non-monetary incentives, I think, are creating a tremendous uplift to the care experience. That the students really value this, not just for the money, but for the life experience. Most of them are upwardly mobile, so they're going to go into clinical careers. I think several of them have told us they would do this for free, which is like really actually awesome to hear. But we want them to get paid because we really think it's an education equity issue. The ratings and the reliability now that we've had thousands of care sessions are really high. Traditional care industry ratings are around like 3.2, 3.3 out of 5 stars. We're proud to say we're averaging over 4.7, almost 4.8, and each session receives a rating similar to the way you rate an Uber trip. The on-time rates are through the roof, so the students are like very reliable and really want to do a good job at this work. So that's kind of like a cool observation. And then, basically, how can anyone use it? It's for anyone who lives within 30 minutes of a major university. You can simply go on your smartphone or tablet or laptop to www.careia.org. You can click Get Care and you can book online in less than 2 minutes. Choose the name, address, date, and time of a care session. And it's pretty easy to set up recurring requests. So it's fairly straightforward for the family or the individual who's booking care, even for themselves to use. And then on the other end, well, it feels like Uber on that end. It's actually not Uber on the other end. Like we have like a fairly careful vetting system. So somebody on our team does a verification Zoom or phone call with the person booking, gives a detailed explanation of how it works and really better understanding the person's care needs. We often have to turn people away because it's the work might be too high acuity for a student to handle. So we want to make sure that there's an appropriate fit for what the person needs and what the student's able to do. And then typically once that's approved and goes into the system, the match can be confirmed with the student caregiver, typically within 2 or 3 days. And then, there's a fully detailed profile of the student caregiver, full contact information, opportunity to leave a detailed review after each care session, and then pretty easy to request the same person again or book based on date and time, recognizing that these are full-time university students. So, if somebody has a need for 3 days a week or 5 days a week, there might be a care team that develops of like 2 or 3 people taking turns. And I think that's it. So this is our mission, expanding access to care for all. And yeah, I'd be happy to email anyone the slides. if they would be interested in watching the videos, which are my favorite part. But yeah, thanks for taking the time to listen and to answer any questions.
Mr. Shah, thank you so much for that wonderful and detailed presentation. I'd like it to open it up to maybe 2 or 3 questions for Neil, if any commissioners do have questions. If you do, please raise your hand and Kennedy can call on you. But again, I'd like to limit it to 3. And then if there are any additional, Neil, I hope that our commissioners or some viewers can reach out to you with further questions if needed.
Sure. Yeah, my email is neil@carryiia.org. So feel free to email me anytime. It's neal@carryiia.org. Yes.
Matthew,
Should
go
I
ahead.
call on?
Commissioner Solomon, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for that presentation. Very interesting.
Sure.
Just my curiosity is the business model of how this actually will work. Again, I understand it from the user and from the student side of things, but I don't understand the overall business model.
Yeah, it's a great question. Unfortunately, there isn't one at the moment. We actually are. Yeah, I was funding it myself for a while, just as a passion project, because I was, I'd observed the experience firsthand. So I was like, okay, can I build something and keep it going for a while? And then actually, as we started building it, a lot of healthcare leaders in our area observed what we were building, and actually people from around the country. So they gave us some funding, and they were like, hey, this is really cool, and it could work well at scale. So near term, there is really no business model, so I'll admit that in full transparency. Long term, my personal mission and goal is never to charge a person for using it. So business to consumer should always be free. And I think that philosophically maximizes access and affordability to as many people that need the help. And it maximizes the pay of the caregiver, that I don't feel care companies should take the money out of the caregiver's pocket because they're doing 99.9% of the work. But that creates a challenge in how do you build something sustainable. So I think a couple of things we've been doing is we operate in a very low cost manner where we get a lot of like grants and kind of like funding support from hospital systems and, large kind of like healthcare organizations like insurance companies. Longer term at scale, like we're trying to keep the costs low. It's mainly like software development and team effort. And then also build it at scale where we can then turn the tables and go to large businesses who should be involved in the care ecosystem. And by that, I mean very large health insurance plans, government, and large corporate employers. All of these should be responsible stakeholders in the care economy. They currently aren't, or they are to varying degrees. But if you think about, let's say, from an employer perspective, right, like the way childcare was in the country 20, 30 years ago, where no one was covering it, but people realized that employee caregivers are going to burn out and leave the workforce in large numbers if they're managing care for someone at home. So we think there's an opportunity for a nice shift where if we can build a scale platform, we've already started getting inbounds from large companies that we might be able to help them with covering their employees' family care needs so people can stay gainfully employed. So that's one kind of like possible long-term sustainable strategy. And then health insurance is one of the big ones, So in a lot of the populations we serve, for example, like the elder population above 65, Medicare Advantage is now over half of the way Medicare is administered across the country, privately managed Medicare Advantage plans. And they have a vested interest in keeping people out of hospitals, helping people avoid falls, helping people stay healthy and avoid ER visits. So that's another kind of source that might be able to kind of work with us. So I'd say we're reasonably well funded for the next kind of like 3 or 4 years, but I think there is a longer term sustainability question that we'll have to kind of address on how we can kind of keep the service alive. But on a counterintuitive note, as the more the platform grows, the more people are jumping in to fund us. So we received some funding from the AARP. We've actually had a partnership with the RRF Foundation out of Chicago. So it's been kind of between individual healthcare leaders who want to see it succeed, as well as large foundations and organizations. It's actually in some way become kind of like self-sustaining through that because we're solving a lot of problems. And I actually think longer term, the final funding pathway will be education equity for students. I think there's so much workforce development efforts that you could simply fund it on the back of that we are encouraging a massively diverse workforce of people to pursue their dream of healthcare careers. And when you look at the public health statistics on, like, for example, like I'll just say one statistic. By the way, I don't know if I'm rambling. Is this answer helpful? Okay, cool. So like one of the statistics that we presented to North Carolina government was the workforce here, which I don't know if in Michigan might be the same, is very non-diverse. Like only 10% of doctors are Black or Hispanic. only 9% of nurses here are Black or Hispanic, right? But the population distribution is like approximately a third of the population is Black or Hispanic. Guess what? In Carolina, it's like it represents the population, right? That there's a lot of people from minority backgrounds. Also in North Carolina, we're a very rural state. So there's a lot of people who are first generation college students from rural backgrounds. And we're studying the statistics that many of these students, freshman and sophomore year, dream, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a nurse, I want to become physician assistant. By the time senior year rolls around, they've given up on that dream. So they're saying that through Carriaya, the ability to make income, part-time, flexible to their schedule, the ability to get people to write letters of recommendation, the ability to get us to connect them with shadowing opportunities, this is actually encouraging a more diverse workforce. So I actually think that if we can pull it off, long-term, the whole thing would be like a workforce development funding, which I think is why hospitals are partnering with us. So Atrium Health is like giving us some grant funding. That's like one of the biggest hospital systems around here. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but I
No,
think
not
kind
at
of
all.
like
That was
very
fantastic.
maybe naively idealistic. Thanks.
No,
Thanks.
speaking just
I think
for
I'll pull it off,
myself,
yeah.
not for as a commissioner, I
Yeah.
think it's fantastic. I think you're a fantastic spokesperson for this, and I really, really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Commissioner
Jack. Really
Ratcliffe?
appreciate it.
Hi. This someone who currently takes care of her parents, and I worked as a direct care professional previously. I have a couple of questions. One is
Sure.
liability. If something were to happen in the home, then because it's basically like a freelancer gig work kind of platform, who takes on the liability of that versus because when you're comparing it to going through a care agency versus doing it on your own, then part of why people choose the agency and the higher rate is because the agency carries the liability if something were to happen, including if something were to happen to the care recipient, as well as if something were to happen to the caregiver, right? Because they're an employee of the agency, which means that, workers' compensation and all of that. And so in this particular case, who takes on that responsibility if something were to happen? And also, as you're able to scale up, will the compensation for the students increase? Because one of the other issues in care and with caregivers across the country has been the pay as you know. However, they're fighting for more than $15 an hour, and around here, like 15 is kind of an entry rate as well, and that's for people. It's like 15 to 18, depending on the level of experience that you have giving care. And so, as it grows, will you increase the rates for the caregivers?
Yeah, great question. And yeah, thanks for both questions. And I'll answer them in reverse order. On the rates one, so we actually, and we've been testing with this because we run it through technology of like dynamic pricing, because we realize in certain markets, like as we expand into like the Boston, Massachusetts area, or in California, sometimes the rates are just higher. Whereas like we're based out of North Carolina, where like just like overall cost of living is lower and wages are also lower. We're kind of like flexible on the rate side, like because we don't take a cut, it's not like very important to us what the rate is, but I think we're trying to solve dual goals, which sometimes are actually contradictory, of like getting the caregivers paid as much as possible, but also having the families be able to afford the care needs. So we've tried to err on the side of the latter as a bigger priority, where we realize that there's a massive care gap where people cannot just afford care. So we're trying to set the rate that what is the rate where most people will be able to get the access, where there's enough students that actually want to do the work. So I don't know I'm still like learning about the Ann Arbor market, but in North Carolina, the pre-health career students have been very happy with like a $15 an hour rate. And the only reason we actually even had to introduce a variability in pricing is that we realized for short appointments, like 2 or 3 hours, or even 4 hours, sometimes the students were like hesitating on like driving, especially if they have to drive like 20, 30 minutes to do a short appointment. So then we started introducing dynamic pricing where it might get closer to 20 an hour if you had to do a short shift. But we've generally found the students are pretty happy with that. And then I'd say even in some high cost areas like even Boston, Massachusetts, where we launched the program, that 15 to 20 seemed to be a reasonable amount if the student could net that, because they were getting supplemental kind of benefits, including like career pathway. So I think I'm kind of like flexible on that, but I realize like each dollar that the rate goes up is one more dollar out of the family's pocket. So need to kind of like weigh that accordingly of like, do we need more caregivers or do we want to have access to more families? And like right now, it's actually kind of like going viral on the caregiver side. We're getting like so many people signing up. That number I put on the sheet, which was like a outdated number of the chart, it's now like we have over 4,000 caregivers across, many universities. So it seems like there's a tremendous like market demand of caregivers to want to do this. But I think I'm kind of open-minded on that, but just recognizing that whatever I raise on caregivers, that's now more money families have to pay, which means fewer families will be able to get the help. To your point about the liability, so for now, we're similar to other online platforms like care.com or kind of just other assistance services where people find, I'd say it's private duty caregivers, where people are finding caregivers and it's the two sides making the transaction, where we're just a facilitator or connector. So the liability is primarily between the two parties, and we have that like very clear in our language that it's not a care agency. That said, I would say, at least from what we've observed with the agencies in our area, is that the agencies are playing a lot of kind of games where most of the agencies in our area don't actually have the caregivers as employees. They all have them as contractors, and they're very careful about not having them go over a certain amount of hours per week so they can keep kind of an arm's length relationship. The agencies do buy supplemental insurance policies, which we've thought about buying. We actually have like an umbrella insurance policy through Lloyd's of London re-underwriter that covers up to 1 million per incident at 8 million in aggregate. So we do have insurance, but we don't kind of go above and beyond on the insurance side, because again, it's the same thing that if we start spending a lot on that, like our math on the agency-based insurance was that to get liability insurance for each person, it was approximately $3 an hour. So again, with kind of the mission of expanding access to affordable caregiving, we just thought it was an unnecessary thing for the population we're serving, because we're not going after people who do use the agencies. We're trying to find people who can't afford the agencies and who are doing it themselves. And I would say that to our alternatives, it's usually somebody going on a care.com where you don't have insurance, you don't have any vetting, you don't know who you're getting. You're just kind of messaging people yourself. And in the Ann Arbor area, muchcare.com help is around 22 an hour, sometimes even 25 an hour. And that person is not insured. It's just somebody you met over the internet, and care.com takes kind of no responsibility and has no filtering mechanism. So something like this is actually lower cost than that and is vetted, background checked, and enrollment at University of Michigan. So we feel that it's kind of superior to that, and it's superior to somebody just asking friends, neighbors, somebody at church for like an informal recommendation. So it's not meant to be necessarily like a competitor to agency-based care. I think if people can afford that, and they want that extra protection, they might as well. But what we found is like somewhere between 85 and 90% of the people are just completely priced out of that market. And those people are like doing it completely on their own. So this becomes a better solution, than that. So
just to follow up, what kind of background check? And you said that the financial transaction happens between the individual and the caregiver and the care recipient, right?
Yes.
So
yes. So
then
if they pay directly, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so then if someone had a long-term care insurance policy, which is actually very popular here, then they would have the ability to contract with the person and utilize that on the outside, right?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with. Okay, to answer both of your questions, the background check is through a tech-enabled background check company called Karma Check, which actually was just launched by the founder of LinkedIn. It was launched about a year ago, and it's like a very reliable tech-enabled way to get like kind of on-the-spot background checks. And it's also like a fairly affordable solution that we can scale around the country. And then the relationship between the person booking the care and the caregiver, yes, is direct. I think I'm not as familiar on the long-term care side. I know a bunch of people in North Carolina have tried to get it through that. And I think the couple of things I've noticed is that long-term care policies, depending on when they were underwritten, usually don't reimburse very high. So many people have like part of the care covered, but even at $15 an hour, believe it or not, it's not fully covered. And then I believe, depending on the policy, sometimes there's a requirement to be a CNA. So then it's kind of luck of the draw where like some students have CNA and then they can, kind of qualify for coverage, other ones don't. But yes, I think if families have access and they are able to kind of like pay through that, like we're kind of indifferent as long as like the student doesn't report that, hey, this person didn't pay me, then we would kind of like have a flag in our system and not allow that to be booked again. But I think that whatever payment methods people want are fine with us because we're not charging anything.
Okay, the rest of it I'll just email.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, to give you some stuff about the landscape here to help out. So that's it.
Sure. Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Shah, for your detailed explanations, and also, again, just for the initiative and everything that you're doing. Absolutely, I think it's outstanding. And then, anybody that has any questions, going forward for Karyaya, or for Mr. Shah himself, please feel free to reach out. So, thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, thanks very much for the opportunity, and thanks everyone for taking the time to learn about what we're doing, and I appreciate your thoughtful questions, and would love any feedback and just help with building awareness in the community, so we can kind of like get more students involved in helping people in the community, and kind of create a mutually beneficial experience for everyone. So thanks very much for your time, and have a great afternoon. Bye.
Thank you. You too, sir. Bye-bye. All right. Next, that moves us on to the Washtenaw Library for the Blind and Physically Disabled with Katie Monkevich. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. I've got a couple things to talk about today. First of all, hang on, I need to change my screen. All right, well, I guess I can't. That's fine. I'll roll with it. Okay, so we've got a couple of events coming up that I wanted to tell you about. First one is a DJ workshop that's coming up on Saturday, September 23rd from 2 to 3:30 p.m. at the Downtown Library. This event is perfect for beginners who are interested in getting started with DJing or for those who just want to learn some new skills. At the DJ workshop event, you'll get hands-on experience with industry standard equipment and learn the basics of mixing and beat matching. We also have a pretty big event coming up called Amal Walks Across America. Y'all might have already heard about this. It's going to be on Saturday, September 23rd from 7 to 8 p.m., starting at the Ann Arbor Farmers Market in Carytown. Little Amal is the 12-foot tall puppet of a 10-year-old Syrian refugee child at the heart of the walk. She has become a global symbol of human rights, especially those of refugees. Since July 2021, Amal has traveled over 9,000 kilometers to 94 towns and cities in 14 countries and been welcomed by more than 1 million people on the street, including hundreds of artists and civil society and faith leaders, as well as by tens of millions online. Her journeys are festivals of art and hope that draw attention to the huge numbers of children fleeing war, violence, and persecution, each with their own story. Her urgent message to the world is, don't forget about us. Between September 7th and November 5th, Amal will journey 6,000 miles across the United States. 35 towns and cities from Boston to San Diego, and more than 1,000 artists and arts organizations will create more than 100 events to welcome her. Amal's journeys of art and hope celebrate the rich stories of refugees, immigrants, and displaced people and the communities that welcome them. We will meet at the Carytown Farmers Market to walk with little Amal to the Downtown Library. And we also have coming up ABCs of Medicare with J.O. This is on Wednesday, October 4th, from 4 to 5:30 p.m. at the Westgate branch. J.O. is the author of Maximize Your Medicare. He will be explaining Medicare Parts A and B, as well as prescription drug benefits. Medigap and Medicare Advantage will be compared, along with how employer-sponsored benefits work with Medicare. The Inflation Reduction Act will introduce notable changes and will be described in full detail during this presentation, and questions will be welcomed throughout. Okay, some information on library materials. WLBPD patrons can order digital cartridges and other materials by calling 734-327-4224 or emailing us at wlbpd@aadl.org. And to sign up for the Braille and Audio Reading Service, or BARD, to download your own books on your own device, visit nlsbard.loc.gov or call us and we can assist with that application. There are a couple of new books of note that you can find on BARD. The first being How We Eat, The Brave New World of Food and Drink by Paco Underhill. Our food system is undergoing a total transformation that impacts how we produce, get, and consume our food. Market researcher and best-selling author Paco Underhill, hailed by the San Francisco Chronicle as a Sherlock Holmes for retailers, reveals where our eating and drinking lives are heading in his delectable book, How We Eat. In this upbeat, hopeful, and witty approach, How We Eat reveals the future of food in surprising ways. And then here's a very popular novel that a lot of our patrons are reading right now or have recently read. It's called Hello Beautiful, a novel by Anne Napolitano. I think that's how you say it. William Waters grew up in a house silenced by tragedy where his parents could hardly bear to look at him, much less love him. So when he meets the spirited and ambitious Julia Padovano in his freshman year of college, it's as if the world has lit up around him. With Julia comes her family, as she and her three sisters are inseparable. With the Padovanos, William experiences a newfound contentment. Every moment in their house is filled with loving chaos. But then darkness from William's past surfaces, jeopardizing not only Julia's carefully orchestrated plans for their future, but the sisters' unshakable devotion to one another. The result is a catastrophic family rift that changes their lives for generations. An exquisite homage to Louisa May Alcott's timeless classic, Little Women. Hello Beautiful is a profoundly moving portrait of what is possible when we choose to love someone not in spite of who they are, but because of it. And I also wanted to remind everybody that there are a lot of world languages. Those titles are available in BARD. Many titles that I was seeing in our recently added list this month were in Spanish. I can't tell you what they're about because I don't speak Spanish, but it was very cool to see. And I thought I would mention that so that everybody's aware that you can get books in different languages from our collection as well. And that is all that I have for y'all today. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Well, wonderful stuff. And yes, I hope we can all walk with them all. It's a wonderful, wonderful puppet, if you guys have not seen, but just represents such a great thing. And yeah, looking forward to that. Absolutely. Thank you, Katie. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Katie at this time? All right. Well, as usual, thank you, Katie, for everything that you and all of the library staff do. We really appreciate you very much.
Well, thanks for everybody for having us. We're always happy to be here. We'll see you next time.
All righty. Okay. Moving on, we have our next presentation. But I don't think Joyce is here. Alex, are you going to be taking the place of Joyce today or no?
So yeah, the person that's going to be taking their place is not here today. They'll be starting next month, and I'll make sure that Kennedy is connected with them. I have an email set up right after to go out right after this meeting today. We are closing out the end of our calendar year, so wrapping a lot of things up, but also getting things planned for the new year. I would say the one thing that I would mention that we do have coming up event-wise is we're doing a trunk or treat and Halloween dance for folks in the community. It's going to be on Friday, the 13th of October at our office, and I'll give the address here in just a minute. But we're going to do a trunk or treat as well as a Halloween dance afterwards. We're still looking for folks to participate as to come in, pass out candy, as well as just get the word out to the community that we can host a whole lot of young folks at our building, and would love to see a full house. Again, that activity is going to be on Friday, October 13th from 6 to 9. at our office, 3941 Research Park Drive, Ann Arbor, Michigan. And for folks who maybe have been over our way anytime recently, the construction on Research Park Drive is over and done with. So we have a brand new road and all good things. So more to come next month if folks are looking to get connected with us or find out more about what's going on in the next couple of months here. They can always visit our website, www.dnwml.org.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
For today.
Yeah, thank you so much for all that you guys are doing. Just really a wonderful place that you guys have. By the way, congratulations on the construction right outside of your building that is finally finished. So it was really great to see that, and that the access from the road into your building is now accessible and all set to go. So that's awesome. And yeah, anybody, I encourage all of you to reach out to Alex, reach out and inquire about the Washtenaw Monroe Livingston Center. It's wonderful and they do a lot of great things. Thank you, Alex. All right. Next, I'd like to move on to the Partners in Access Community Engagement Committee report with Rachel and Larry and Alex. If you guys have anything to report at this time.
I wasn't able to make the meeting, unfortunately, last week. So I don't have anything in particular to report. I reached out to Melissa to get an update on Ann Arbor Inclusive, and I'm sure I'll have that soon, and we'll forward that to everyone by email.
Okay. No, thank you so much, Rachel. And doing a lot of great work with community engagement in terms of Ann Arbor Inclusive. So thank you to CTN and thank you to Tom Hoatland, Linda Evans, all the individuals doing that. And then also, want to thank Partners in Access for, your constant, ability to work on access issues that come up in the city. So thank you all. All right. Next,
Zach, this is Alex. I'll just add a couple of things from the meeting we had last week.
Sure.
We had not met since the summer break. But Kathleen and Larry joined me for about 30 minutes last week. Just covered a couple of topics I wanted to mention. One is, I know Larry will probably talk a lot more about, and so I'm not going to say much, but concerns related to cyclists and use of sidewalks and how that can be dangerous for a lot of folks with disabilities. The second piece is related specifically, Kathleen brought forward a concern related to a crosswalk light that was running really fast. It's in an area that's actually outside of Ann Arbor. It's in Pittsfield Township. And so I have been talking with some folks about who we can reach out to see if we can't get that crosswalk light timed a lot differently. For those who are interested, it's for the on-ramp at 94 on Ann Arbor Saline Road. We have some folks who are using that pathway quite regularly and have been experiencing some real difficulties with going over that pathway specifically. And then last, I will just mention, I know I've been the chair of this group for at least the last year now. And if I know there are some new folks, it sounds like we may have some folks joining us. We have had a couple of new members in the last, just before the break in the summer as well. If there are folks who are interested in participating or even considering leading a committee, I'm happy to pass that responsibility along. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me for more information. And that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex. I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, that ramp, between Ann Arbor, Saline and I-94, very important access point. So I appreciate the bringing that to the commission's attention and for the work that is being done there. And absolutely, as we continue to add to the commission, I encourage all of those, interested to join you, and then to be eager to step up and be a part of the Partners in Access subcommittee. All right. Next, I'd like to move to recruiting activity with Mr. Larry Keeler.
Yeah, as you see, Chair and I have been busy interviewing candidates, and we've got another candidate we should probably interview soon, and I think we got another one in the wings. So we've been pretty busy the last month or so, but that doesn't mean that we can't take any more candidates. We just we're busy, and we've got a couple extra ones, and we're hoping that they're going to go through the rest of the process. I'm sure we'll vote on them later on, and if they're on when the time comes, if there's any questions for either of them and they're still on there, the commissioner should ask them the questions.
All right. Thank you, Larry. And don't go anywhere. Oh, Kathleen, you have your hand up.
I just had a quick question of how many open positions do we currently have on the commission?
Currently, right now, we have 4 vacant positions.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. And Larry, don't go anywhere because
I'm right here.
We need you for the Transportation Commission update.
All right. There wasn't a lot going on, but this is a summer synopsis. And in our public comment, it was advocated for that we have fencing by the train tracks, so that people don't wander off into them. And there's more traffic calming going on. The ones that were mentioned were at Packard and Baldwin, and Manchester and Nottingham. And we're working on raised crosswalks, so I guess people can tell that, and some more speed humps in various areas to calm the traffic. And there was discussions on how to implement these things in different neighborhoods, and how to evaluate petitions, how to evaluate and getting petitions put up for bumpers. And there was some talks. We also talked about filling a seat with a 55-year-old plus, and public transportation user motion. There's a public transportation user motion that failed, and I can't. Oh, that failed. 55 or older, because we had a couple of people that were older, 55 years and older, and with disabilities that use public transportation. One of them would have been me, so the motion failed to fill that extra seat and restrict it to somebody who is over 55 and a public transportation user. And then the assessment management plan, public bike parking. We're working on more public bike parking, and AATA making adjustments to some. We're making adjustments to some bus routes, and that's a synopsis. The rest of the report should be in. And I'm going to also this evening, I'm going to go to the transportation meeting and mention the on-ramp to the on-ramp and intersection that we talked about just a few minutes ago. And I'm also going to mention the bike issue, because the issue that we were discussing had to do with people going down and using the sidewalks. And my question is, when they've got all these bike lanes, why in the world are people zinging down on scooters and bikes on the sidewalks, leaving them there and hitting people or nearly clipping people? I've had to repair 2 canes, and things because of bike traffic there that zooms through and thinks that they own the place. So I'm going to mention that to transportation. And also I'm going to mention, I was going to put this in announcements, but this is similar to transportation. The local advisor at the local advisory council to AATA, otherwise known as LAC, is undergoing some changes, and they're looking for some new members, and that would be, you can contact R. Williams with 2 L's at theride.org and find out further information. We're looking for new blood on there because some of the old blood is either taking a break or is taking breaks from their long terms and their well-needed breaks for some. And so they've got at least 4 positions that we need to fill. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Kathleen, you have a question?
Question, sort of comment for Larry with regards to the Transportation Commission this meeting. You know, we did have a really good hearty discussion at the PIA committee with regards to bikes and scooters and things utilizing sidewalks. And I'm not saying Ann Arbor didn't do a wonderful job in terms of considering bikers as people to use bikes and scooters and things like that. It lowers our carbon footprint. There are so many amazing and wonderful things that came out of it. But one of the things that, in my observation, this is Kathleen speaking as Kathleen with no power, not a commissioner, we lack in education. So we put out these wonderful initiatives like bike lanes, but what sort of actual education happened on the public end? You know, did we target motorists and say bike lanes are coming in and that's how you navigate them? Did we contact or advocate with bikers and scooters? These are the laws in the state of Michigan. These are the laws in the state of Ann Arbor, or in the city of Ann Arbor. This is how you are supposed to, because I can't tell you, being in a wheelchair, how many times I've almost had my service dog run over or, you know, been hit or whatever, because somebody's been coming up on my 6 and I don't hear them, or they're coming at me and they're not giving me any right of way. I'm the one hitting the grass, not them. They should be hitting the street and I'm near State Street. So there's bike lanes up and down State Street. So I guess I would wonder what their plan is in terms of education. I feel like that's a huge piece that they've missed in these initiatives.
Yeah, great point, Kathleen. And, you know, I really appreciate you bringing that to our attention because education is important. And I think everybody needs to be on the same page in terms of, you know, what is going to happen and what do people do. And yeah, there seems to be a disconnect there. Thank you. Matthew, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to amplify what was said by Kathleen and a little more soft-spoken manner by Larry, which is this is unlawful conduct by bicyclists that is putting people in danger, and there needs to be either enforcement or some kind of, it's just not acceptable what goes on. And the way that those bike lanes is structured is deeply problematic. I feel like whoever our liaison with the city is should also be hearing this because it's a major issue. And it's extremely distressing to hear what Kathleen is reporting, and she's just one individual in this community.
Commissioner Solomon, thank you. And I'm glad to report that our council liaison is on this meeting and has their hand up. So, Council Member Edwin, you have a comment?
Hi, everyone. You know, firstly, thank you, Kathleen, for sharing those stories. I've been in some talks with transportation about just what have their education efforts been around, you know, bicycling in general, because as someone who works in disability policy, you know, we need robust and safe infrastructure that helps people move around in all kinds of ways, but those who are most vulnerable need to be protected, like people with mobility issues, people with disabilities, whatever it may be. There was some education that went around, like the implementation of the Vision Zero plan, their plan to get down to zero pedestrian accidents. But I agree there needs to be more. And I agree that voices of people who, like, for example, are on this commission or people with disabilities should be part of that education to the public. So it's something I can definitely contact the Transportation Commission and ask more about. Because I think it's an important concern for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Vice Chairman and Transportation, Commission member, Keeler, I think if both of you are able to join on those efforts, that might be helpful.
Maybe Larry, what have been the conversations around just education around bicycling infrastructure and accessibility?
If you are responding, Larry, you're on mute. You're still on mute, Larry. Hopefully you can unmute here. And while you're figuring that out, Larry, I'll move to, there we go.
I'm unmuted. So far, I haven't figured out where to go on that. I haven't figured out who to talk to about the education and the laws yet. I'm just, I'm starting to see it's becoming a big problem on the sidewalks for a lot of different people. And I don't really know where to go yet.
Mm-hmm. I'll contact Raymond Hess, who is the city staff that's in charge of transportation, and I'll bring up this question and I'll bring a response back to all of you. One thing
I will also talk to him this evening. The Transportation Commission is at 7.
Okay, great. That would be really good. And
I'm going to see if he can send me some stuff too.
Yeah, or even maybe invite him to like a meeting, right? An upcoming CODI meeting.
Yeah, I can do that too.
Sometimes I think
and so can you, and that way he'll think about it pretty hard,
Yeah, just having to come and just answer some questions and talk about a plan. You did mention, Larry, about the recent traffic calming resolution, and I was a co-sponsor on that. This is not about education. It's about safety and traffic infrastructure and traffic calming. So that resolution was put forth basically to change the process. Like right now, for an existing street to be considered for speed bumps or bump outs or curb cuts or whatever it may be, crosswalks, it has to go through a petition process where a resident has to bring it forward, and then 50% of the residents within that neighborhood have to agree. And this resolution changed it so that it basically gives our transportation staff or engineers the power to evaluate for different types of traffic calming additions during any capital improvement project. So if like a road is being resurfaced, like them doing it on the front end. And from a disability, and it doesn't completely take out, the ability for residents to bring things up, but from a disability justice perspective, I think the onus to make sure our infrastructure is safe and comprehensive shouldn't fall on residents, should fall on those with power and money. Right. I mean, with resources, those who work at the city. And it also shouldn't be up for like a veto vote, which is currently the case. Like if you don't have 50%, it doesn't go through. And that's been an issue. It's been a safety issue. So this is changing that process so that, again, city engineers can bring it on the front end. So yeah, but you know what, that resolution was about better communication and implementation of safety efforts from the get-go. And I think there's definitely a place for conversation that hasn't happened yet on outreach, education, impact of this infrastructure on people with disabilities, on everyone. So Larry, you talk to Raymond, I'll talk to Raymond. How's that sound?
There you go.
Okay. Long response.
Maybe we'll get him in October. Maybe we'll get him in for October.
Yeah, that would be good.
All right. Commissioner Solomon, I know you had a hand up and then the arm got tired and you put it down. Do you still have a comment or no?
Maybe I could introduce it under old business.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. With that, I'd like to go to you, Commissioner Solomon, for the U of M Council for Disability Concerns meeting update.
So actually quite a lot to report. It was a very busy meeting and extremely informative meeting. So I'd like to kind of just make you aware of a few things. If you want to follow up with me, I'd be happy to discuss further or share some resources, but I found it extremely informative. There was several presenters, the first of whom was Stephanie Rosen, who is the IT Accessibility Assistant Director and is charged with making information technology at U of M as accessible as possible. So that's a massive effort and encompasses many, many aspects of the university's daily activities. And they're actively seeking input from the disability community. So they're trying to form a digital accessibility liaison network to really make sure that their efforts are comprehensive, directed in the right ways. And so that's an exciting development and one which I will keep you posted about. We also heard from 2 ASL interpreters who are employed by the University of Michigan, and just extremely informative to hear a bit about ASL for those of us who are not fluent in an ASL, some of the nuances of that, some tremendously useful tips for interacting with deaf individuals, some stereotypical behaviors which are just not appropriate, like overemphasizing one's words or speaking slowly is not a particularly effective way to communicate with deaf individuals. And the last thing I'll sort of include here is the formation of a University of Michigan Center for Disability Health and Wellness. And you can find this online. This was, to me, entirely new, that there would be a Center for Disability Health and Wellness that acknowledges the large number of people in the community that are living with various disabilities, and to center health and wellness. Again, it's an initiative that I'm looking forward to learning more about, and I wanted to share that with you. The last is more just a reminder that this is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So that is an issue that concerns all of us, and it is the month in which we are asked with the rest of our fellow citizens to think in particular about it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matthew. And before I make any more comments, I know we have a hand up. Rachel Hawkins.
Thanks, Matthew. I appreciate it. I just had a quick question. So from having been in some of the discussions, like on the Michigan Medicine side about the Disability Health Center, I know it's an idea they've been talking about for a while, but we've not gotten to the point that we have a physical building unless there's some new information on that. So it's, a lot of it is primarily research based in terms of what I'm following, like internally there, it's not necessarily like tangible resources yet, but I know that they want to get there. So if you have any additional updates on kind of the status of that, I would love to know.
So clearly my optimism needs to be tempered by someone who knows more about this than I do. I only know what I heard. It's possible that I either missed a meeting in which this might have been brought up before, but this was news to me. As far as I know, there have been the creation of this website. I don't know what resources are there. And again, I defer to you because it sounds like you're much better informed about if there's a physical plant involved, if there's a staff involved, because that was not discussed in any detail.
I feel like all I had heard about before was the website, but I don't think they have like any full-time staff working within it, if that makes sense, unless Kathleen has additional information that she may know from all of her CFDC experience.
No, I heard everything that Matthew heard, and it was my interpretation as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it all falls out. I also know that I think Pam McGinty, the chair, one of the co-chairs of the CFDC, usually sends out her notes. Perhaps something might be in there that might have a little bit more information. I think that comes out fairly soon. It could be sent to the entire commission.
Thanks for that additional information. I'm certainly happy to share the slides when those are, they may have already been released. And I really appreciate the questions, because this gives follow-up when we return to CFDC to kind of keep tracking this. I'd suggest taking a look at the video on the website and just see if there's anything there, but I'm happy to show those slides as well.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Matthew.
much. Oop, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying thank you too.
No problem. A lot of good thanks going around, folks, because there's a lot of good work being done. Yes, indeed. Council for Disability Concerns at the University of Michigan. Can't say enough how wonderful that is to hear that they're doing this Center for Disability Health and Wellness. Matthew, yes, please keep everyone informed of that. What a great development. And thank you for all of your work in sitting on the Council for Disability Concerns. Next, I don't know, do we have the report for the Director of Organizational Equity?
I was going to say, Laura Orta could not be here today, but Councilmember Ghazi Edwin would give the update. She has her hand raised. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Councilmember?
So unfortunately, she couldn't join us, but she did want me to share an update on the hiring of an accessibility coordinator, which they have found a candidate and they have been offered the position. They accepted, and the person will begin on October 2nd. So it's exciting. And, we'll learn more, I'm sure, in the coming weeks, but like this is the city's first ever disability focused position, besides a, ADA coordinator, which is federally required and is someone who takes complaints around ADA violations on federal property. Anyway, long tangent, bottom line, this is the first time that we have someone disability focused to just help our residents. So we did really good work, guys. You should be proud.
Yeah, you did. All of you should be very proud. Amazing.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to have our bicentennial in 2024, and in the 199 years of our city, we are making history. So congratulations to all of you. It is an honor.
Yeah. We got
Absolutely.
that.
Yes. All right. So with that, I wanted to move on to the city personnel report with Kennedy.
Hi, everyone. I know I haven't had a chance to formally introduce myself to the commission, so I wanted to take this time and do that. My name is Kennedy Blair Cummings. I am the office manager for the commission. I have been in the position now since June. I'm very excited to be a part of the commission, and I'm help and assist in any way that I can. If you have any questions or need any assistance or want to stop by, I am here in City Hall on the second floor. I'm looking forward to getting to know each and every one of you, and I'm happy to assist the commission. And I have no report.
Okay, and I am so sorry. Yes, I don't know. Pardon my faux pas, everybody, but yes, this is Kennedy Blair Cummings. She is our new office manager for the commissions. Filled the ginormous shoes of Denise Janez, but she is doing, in my opinion, a fantastic job thus far. And I encourage all of you, if you do have questions, reach out to Kennedy, just as you had with Denise, and Kennedy will get the job done. So thank you so much, Kennedy, for all of your work.
Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the chair report, and I wanted to, first of all, just say that I'm just so excited to be back with all of you after our summer recess to sort of, get things rolling here. And first off, Commissioner Solomon actually mentioned, the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So I was going to talk about that, and also, but you alluded to it as well. So I just wanted to say yes. We should be, encouraged with that coming up. We should definitely promote that. Needham is very important, and I hope that we're all proud and being able to support that as that comes about. Next, I wanted to report that I was very, very proud to have the commission receive a accessibility voting ordinance, and we were awarded that as a commission from Mayor Taylor recently, and I just want to give all the credit to all of you and our commission for the support that you've given all of us and myself in understanding the importance of accessibility in our city and the importance of accessible voting at all of our polling locations around the city. And I didn't want to speak. I didn't want to steal Councilmember Edwin's thunder, as she does have another report to do after myself. But I just wanted to thank the city, but also thank all of you for your continued efforts and your support in our efforts to make the city accessible and equitable for all. And again, all of you should feel very, very proud of the accomplishment. So although I was there accepting the presentation, please know that all of you were with me, and I give all of you the credit on that. Finally, I have one more bit of news, and I'm actually going to send this out through email as soon as I can, preferably later this evening or tomorrow morning. But interestingly enough, I was made aware of the Delta Dental Foundation, and they're doing a photo shoot with those with disabilities in partnership with Positive Exposure. And Positive Exposure is a nonprofit which promotes a more inclusive world through award-winning photography. And they've collaborated globally to promote a more equitable and compassionate world where individuals and communities who are underrepresented, are embraced and celebrated. So now Positive Exposure is coming to Detroit, Michigan on October 22nd, and also Marquette, Michigan on November 5th. And they'll be doing a free photo shoot of people of all ages within the disability community. And they will receive digital copies of their photos at no charge. And also select images of this particular photo shoot will be printed and made available for nonprofit dental clinics to display as a positive representation of people with disabilities. So images will be featured in sort of a print piece highlighting the importance of dental care for people with disabilities that will be given to graduating dental students and also legislators. So I will send out that information if you're interested in participating in the free photo shoot. And yeah, I think it's just a fun opportunity, free opportunity. You get a free headshot for your LinkedIn or any professional portfolio. And then that can also be used for some other purposes. Yes, Commissioner Hawkins, you have a question.
Yes, just about the Delta Dental piece. So just really glad to hear that news. It's a huge equity issue, in terms of people with disabilities, people who are low income with disabilities. So I'm glad to hear that they're doing this. Has there been is there been discussion in terms of like including people, you know, with all levels of disability? I'm just curious because like my sister has a hard time going to the dentist, needs sedation. So I've lived the dental life. I you know, in terms of her experiences. And so like I think there's definitely a wide array of experiences around dental care and disability. So I'm just glad to see it being recognized.
Yeah, absolutely. And great point. I mean, to my knowledge, from the information that I've received, Rachel, it is open to all varying, individuals, right, with disabilities. So I don't think that there's any specific, speculation of whether you have to have a mobility disability or what have you. I think it's open to all, individuals in that sector. So I'll send it our way. Hopefully, all of you can sign up and we can all see your pearly whites in many different ways. Absolutely. Finally, folks, in the chair report, as you know, earlier in our meeting today, we had our candidates who were up for the commission present earlier. And as the chairman, I would like to make a motion to vote on these candidates today, that they be, voted on to and approved by our commission to join so that they can be then their applications can then be put forward to city council for formal approval. So with that being said, under the chair report, I would like to, make a motion to approve Ms. Chambers as well as Mr. Packard for seats on the Commission on Disability Issues. And it looks like we have a question really quick. So, Ms. Radcliffe.
It's just really quick. If we vote yes today, could it be on the agenda for Monday's meeting, city council meeting?
So then what will happen is once the commission votes today, if they would like to move the applicants forward, I would then contact the city clerk's office and let them know. And then the city council liaisons will then have to vote. And then once they vote on and approve the candidates, then it will go to city council. So it really depends on the response from the council liaisons. And then from there, we would be able to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so those
I have.
Go ahead, Larry.
Oh, go ahead. I have something to say too. We can't blanketly vote on both of them. We have to vote on one at a time.
Okay.
I would think.
No, that's fine. So let's do a vote on one at a time then.
And should they be present?
They don't have to be.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, you don't have to be present for this vote if you don't.
They're both still here.
They are.
Oh,
Okay. Well, Rob and Elena, if we could ask you both to sign off, then we can do your individual votes from the commission, and then yeah, we will be in touch with you with the results going forward.
So Elena and Rob, I will be in touch with you all once the vote is finalized, and then the next steps after that.
Thanks.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Nice to meet you both.
Great to meet everyone.
Yeah, pardon me, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't realize they were on the meeting most of the time here. But yeah, so I guess I would like to then start with candidate Chambers. And her being a commissioner and having a seat. I'm in support of her. I think with her being passionate about accessibility, passionate about what we do, also being familiar with our city, being a lifelong Ann Arborite, I think that she really fits great with our commission and can really be an asset. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to a vote.
Larry, do you have any comments as someone who had some discussions with both these individuals, I would welcome your comments.
No, I would agree. I think she would be a good fit. I just personally think that I'd like to say that I think both candidates in this case would be a good fit, actually.
Okay. With that, so yeah, I would like to vote on candidate Elena Chambers. So yeah, if we can all, if are all in favor of voting in Elena Chambers as a commissioner, I would unmute and say aye. If there are any that do have questions, please let us know. Aye.
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 Zach, I did want to say I had unfortunately missed the presentations, but I deeply value all of your guys' input, from everyone's responses, and they both sound like they would be great on the commission. And I'd like to vote affirmatively so we can move them forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And I just want, honestly, like full, I've looked over their applications, it was very thorough. I think, Larry, as our recruitment person, did a wonderful job, going through, the application and making sure that they were qualified, you guys. So, I just want you to know that there was ample, processes done here to make sure that these individuals were a good fit.
Well, I mean, in case, of course, always it reminds to be said that if there are any questions after they they're introduced, like at this meeting, if there were any questions that you have, that would be your time to ask the questions too, so that you have your input if you want.
Thank you. Aisha, you have a question.
No, obviously I'm a non-voting member, but just a quick clarifying question. How long are terms? Are they 2-3 years?
I think they're
3 years,
right?
2 years with the 3 years, and then you have to reapply, and you can get another 3 years.
Okay.
Oh, 3 years. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
all right. So good. Glad to hear that Elena Chambers is approved. Next, I'd like to move to Rob Packard. Personally, I've had an opportunity to interview this candidate. The moment I interacted with the gentleman at Visions this past year, I was very taken aback in a very good way in terms of how enthusiastic he was to even know about our commission, number one, but then also how passionate he was about like individuals knowing about resources, knowing where to go, but then also he goes, well, how important it is, Zach, that, individuals know that they have these resources. He goes, it's so hard for me, as a person, when you don't have a disability and then you become disabled, to know where to go. And he said, I'm very passionate about, being able to serve with you on the commission and giving, people with disabilities in the city, more access to resources. And I said, exactly. So I feel, very, very confident that Rob can also be a very good commissioner, that he could possibly, I don't want to, put him in roles, but I think he could serve very well on the Partners and Access Committee as well, because he has told me about different issues he's had in terms of access around the city. So I think he could also serve, very well on this commission. And, I'd like to open it to a vote for Rob Packard. If we could all unmute and all in favor of voting in Rob Packard to the Commission on Disability Issues, please unmute and say aye.
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 Just in case you want to know, I met this guy about six or 7 months before this. I met him and I bowled with him, and we actually dropped him off somewhere. And I thought he'd be a good fit too. I was surprised to see he was actually, because I must have missed the talk. I must have missed you talking with him, Zach, at the vendor fair. I must have went out for my try to find something to eat or something while you were doing that. So I was glad to see he was put forward for our commission.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm just very excited for all of us that we have two eager individuals that are willing to come in and help us, and they are enthusiastic to get involved. I think that's important in the work that we're doing. And I think all of you can be great examples to both of them in terms of, what it means to lean into the work, what it means to be passionate about our city equitable and inclusive. So hopefully they can all reach out to you too, once they're fully approved, and we can go from there. All right. With that is all I have for the chair report at this time. So I want to thank everybody. At this point, unfortunately, you guys, I do have to jump off to another meeting that I have. But Vice Chairman, if you could take over at the City Council update with Council Member Edwin and have her update our commission, that would be great. And Council Member, I just want to thank you for all of your work and everything that you're doing in conjunction with the Commission on Disability Issues. It's been very, very important, and I'm so grateful. And I think our full commission is grateful for you. So I apologize that I do have to jump off prior to your report, but thank you for all of your work.
Okay, thanks. And it's all really all of you. So I have a few updates. I want to be, I'm not going to be too overly detailed because I know we're all tired. End of the meeting. So we passed I think it was just mentioned, the Disability Voting Rights Week proclamation, which Zach came and he accepted, and that was in recognition of Disability Voting Rights Week, which began September 11th. And that came out of I had a lot of help writing it from my organization, Detroit Disability Power, which, to give you all just some background information, last November during the 2022 election, my organization with the Carter Center audited 261 polling locations across 15 jurisdictions in Southeast Michigan. So this was Metro Detroit polling locations, not including Ann Arbor. And they were audited for 4 main criteria related to accessibility. There's a full report and I can forward it to you guys. And it found that only 16% of polling locations were fully accessible. And that is horrible. And this was the largest audit to ever be done on accessibility in the nation now to date. It mirrors previous audits that have been done. Usually the rate of accessible voting is only 16%, despite, we have a 25% of people in Michigan who have a disability. So this proclamation was written and acknowledged that, if we were to remove these barriers, people with disabilities as a voting bloc in an election. So it's important stuff. That happened. And then I was very honored to have the help of Alex Gossage and Zach and the Disability Network of Washtenaw, Macomb, Livingston, and Detroit Disability Power in helping me write a resolution calling the Michigan legislature to phase out subminimum wage. And subminimum wage is the current practice of allowing an employer, like a business, to obtain something called a 14C certificate from the Department of Labor to essentially pay people with disabilities, workers with disabilities, less than minimum wage. And there is no floor to it. It could be like $1 an hour. I'll send that through. I think something like 60% of subminimum wage workers currently make about $3 an hour. And then the rest, it's a very archaic practice. Yeah, it's a very archaic practice that was originally came out to keep people out of institutions. So anyway, about 14 states have done away with it. and up to 30 in total are trying to phase it out in different ways. And so this resolution said that we collectively as city council, we condemn this practice. We don't currently have any 14C certificate holders. We have no businesses in Ann Arbor right now who hold any of these. But there are hundreds in the state. And we discourage businesses from getting these, and we encourage the legislature to phase this out. Because if you just ban it, it will overwhelm the system. And then there's also things like asset limits, right? And Social Security disability that are other constraints put on people with disabilities. And, you know, it advocates for also changing those asset limits. It's complex, but it's also not that complex. You know, if you're going to pay someone $3, $1 an hour, just don't call it employment. It shouldn't be employment. And if you're not going to pay people who kind of suck at their jobs less than minimum wage, like how can you, it's so discriminatory in so many ways. So it passed unanimously. Long story short. Let me pause for a second. Any questions about anything that I just shared? No. Okay. It's a lot of words. So, you know, that's actually it for my updates. The DDA still has put in some more accessible parking spaces downtown. We have the ADA coordinator going. So I think we're definitely bringing more attention to disability issues. And I think this issue that was raised tonight around transportation is a good one. And I'll follow up. So thank you. Thanks for all the work you all do.
Thank you so much. Larry, did you want to go to the next agenda item, or I can announce it if you like? I think you might be muted.
My phone just decided to mute me just randomly. So I guess the next agenda is old business, correct?
That is correct. And I know Commissioner Solomon, you wanted to bring up a topic under old business.
I did, but it was actually answered in the interim. My question was about Laura Orta and the disability hire. So those questions were answered. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Next would be new business.
Is there any new business?
Oh, I see some participant hands. Commissioner Ratcliffe, go ahead.
I just had a couple of things. One is we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the Rehabilitation Act. So the federal government is holding, well, all month they've been holding different sessions, and what is it? Two big things that one big thing that has come out is that through Health and Human Services, there have a public comment period right now about basically it's like healthcare and medical discrimination and practices and access to healthcare. And so I'll be sending that out. It's new rules and regulations that they want to do. And also, this is kind of piggybacking off of the Social Security income limits. Right now, it was introduced on September 12th as bipartisan legislation at the federal government level is an actual increase in the threshold for SSI. Who knows if that'll actually go forward beyond committee, but it has been introduced in the House and in the legislation for the increase in income limits. It doesn't get rid of the marriage penalty, but it does actually increase what you can have. And there's some language in there about actual cost of living increases, which are better than the ones that were there before. So that's it.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Ratcliffe, would it be okay if I put this report under communication?
Oh, Yes, I didn't know where it fell, so yeah.
That would be under communications or announcements, yeah.
Okay,
perfect. I'll put it there. Commissioner Mozak, you have your hand up?
I do. Mine was actually still under old business. It was with regards to the DDA, the 4th Street project, where they were looking at pedestrian friendly streets there, redoing that whole, turning it sort of like into a more of a mallish, what I mean by that, area in terms of pedestrian traffic. And we haven't heard anything in a while. And I sort of heard little bits and pieces here and there. And I'm wondering if the Transportation Commission is following this, Larry, or is there a way that over the next month or so we could maybe get an update from the DDA on this project?
I'll have to ask about that. I haven't heard a lot about that yet either. Actually, I haven't really heard a lot about that. But I can ask this evening.
Thank you.
Oh, and I forgot one more thing, which I guess is a communication. And starting September 25th, you can get 4 new COVID tests from the federal government for free. What is it? Because I just had the website out, the covid.gov/tests. So remember, September 25th, you can make that order again.
Would there be any more new business? Barring that, would there be any more communications? Again, I would announce that the local advisory council to AATA is looking for new members, and to do that, contact Robert Williams at the ride at rwilliams with 2 L's at theride.org, and you can fill out your application and be a part of helping and be a part of advising AATA about further in some of their future transportation issues. Hearing none.
Hey, Larry.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Do you know if there was ever any kind of follow-up or answers if when I forgot his name, the CEO of AATA came and said that they were no longer going to do the same day paratransit?
Oh, no. They're no longer, so as far as I know, they're still no longer going to do it.
Okay.
There's no immediate plan to do that.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
This is Aisha. Yeah, they're no longer going to offer it. I'm so sorry. That's my kids. They're no longer going to offer it due to like funding and capacity. And I think I have something else in writing that he sent over to us. But yeah, as of now, they don't have any plans to bring it back.
Right.
I mean, you can do it like 3 days in advance, I believe.
You can do it 1 day in advance.
Oh, it's 1 day in advance.
Okay. You can do it up to 1 day in advance. You can't do it more than 3 days in advance, though, because they were finding out that if people did it a week or 2 in advance, some people would forget that they did it.
Right.
So 3 days. You can still do it 3 days in advance, though. Up to a day in advance.
There was another reason why they couldn't any longer provide it, and it had to actually do with abiding by ADA and discrimination against those who use wheelchairs. It's just coming back to me, but I don't want to inaccurately speak on behalf of AAATA, so I'll look through my notes.
Well, hearing no other communications, I would request a motion to adjourn.
Larry,
so moved.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead. I heard somebody say something, so just before we do that, who said what?
Matthew makes a motion to adjourn.
Oh, no, somebody said Larry. So I was wondering if they wanted me to stop the.
No, I said I'll second the motion.
Okay, I guess I'm good then. So all in favor of adjournment? Say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. See you guys next. See you all next month.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.